Good morning, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Heekdirks, and today I'm introducing our new Noisy Offering project. And it happens to be something that Mr. Heekdirks and I care a lot about. And it's about raising money for the Aproquen Burn Center in Nicaragua. Now, I want to explain this to you a little bit. Here in Miami, we have a hospital called Miami Children's Hospital. And if you hung out there during the day and just was watching people come in, you might see a lot of kids needing to get a cast, maybe because they broke their arm or something that day playing. Or you might see a little kid needing to get some stitches because he bonked his head real hard on the concrete or something like that. Well, if you went to Nicaragua and you sat in the emergency room of a hospital there, you probably wouldn't see too many kids having those kinds of issues. Instead, what you would probably see are a lot of kids who are coming in and they're burned. Now, some of you might be wondering what's going on, so I'm going to explain it to you. This little boy here was probably burned on his face and on his arms by maybe some really hot water or some oil. And the burns that are on his face are extremely painful and very difficult to heal. Now, a child who gets burned on their face not only will need lots of surgeries, but they're going to need to wear something to protect their skin. It's a long and painful process. And some of you might be wondering, well, what in the world's going on in Nicaragua? Why are all these kids getting burned? And it's because over 80% of the people in Nicaragua cook over an open flame like this. And so the mom or the dad will be making food, and they might have a pot, and the pot will be over the flame. And this would be right by their house. They don't have a kitchen probably like you and I do. They have just an open flame like this. And what very commonly happens is that the kids are playing around or they're doing whatever, and they accidentally bump into this, and a pot of water or oil will fall on them and burn them. And this happens a lot. Now, it used to be that if a child got burned on a lot of their body, there was not a place for them to go to get help because it's very hard to have burns heal. And so it used to be that a lot of those children would actually die from their burns until there was a woman, and her name was Vivian Pellis. She's still alive, but 20 years ago, this is a picture of her with her family, and it just so happens that Vivian is a very, very wealthy woman in Nicaragua. And so she and her husband were going to go on a trip, and so they got into an airplane, and the airplane went up, and everything was going fine until the airplane started to fall from the sky, and they crashed. The plane burst into flames, and Vivian was inside the airplane while it was burning. Her husband went in, grabbed her, and dragged her out of the plane. But in the meantime, she became burned all around on her face, all around on her body. Now, she went back to Nicaragua, and because she frankly, had quite a bit of money, she didn't have any problem finding doctors or a nice hospital to care for her, and they started her on the long process of helping her heal. This is her actually wearing a very tight mask that helps burns heal. And this is actually a picture of Vivian here with her daughter. And her daughter is hugging her because she loves her mother so much, and yet she can hardly recognize her mom. Now, what happened was that Vivian, when she was at the hospital, she started to notice all these kids coming in with burns. And she said, what in the world is going on? Why do all these kids have these terrible burns? And they said, well, Mrs. Pellis, this is a big problem. And she said, I never knew about this until I got burned myself. But here I have access to all kinds of doctors to help me, but these children don't, and they're dying. So you know what she decided to do? She said, I am going to take my family, and we are going to start a hospital. And she said, I'm going to get the best doctors in the world for burns, and I'm going to have it be free, that a child can come and get attention for their burns for free. They don't have to pay a thing. So now what happens is that when a child gets burned, they come to Aproquen, the burn center, and they will get care. And this is a very common sight that you'll see these Nicaraguan moms, and they'll have their baby, and this baby's been burned on his ankle, and this boy's been burned on his chest, and this nurse is going to help them. Now, boys and girls, this is Vivian now, and this just happens to be a woman who was burned on her face. You can tell by her skin, and she's grown up. She was a child when she was first brought to Aproquen, but now through the years, she gets all of her care done there at Aproquen for free. Now, these people who still are coming to Aproquen all the time need help because Vivian, she can't pay for it all herself. So unbelievably, it's been so awesome. For the last 7 years, Mr. Heatdirks and I and our family go to Nicaragua and we work at Aproquen at the burn center. And we hang out with some of the kids and maybe play games with them. We do puppet shows with them and we encourage them. This is a girl, Christina, from our school, Westminster, and she's helping a little girl who got burned on her ear. She's got a little thing over here on her ear covering up her burns. And we collect toys and all kinds of things to give to the hospital. And here's my daughter making some of those rubber band bracelets for kids who are waiting in the lobby because sometimes they get kind of bored. And then last time I did some face painting on them. And here's Mr. Heatdirks again. But 2 years ago, what happened is that we were back in the burn center along with the kids, and we started to make some decorations in the window. Well, the kids loved it because if you can see here, this is a room and there will probably be 6 kids in here and they are in a lot of pain. And this room is very, very boring. It's just got plain windows. So after we put those decorations in the window, they came back and said, would you be willing to do something a little bit more permanent, something that wouldn't fade? So the next year, Mr. Heatdirks and I, we brought some sticky stuff that you put on the window that the light will shine through, almost like stained glass. And we cut out a whole bunch of shapes and started to put them inside of this tree here. Well, now when the light shines through it, it might be very dark inside the hospital, but the kids look at it and they start to play games. The mom might say, hey, can you find a blue bird? Or can you find a pink flower? Or can you find an orange heart? And they can, just have something to do to entertain themselves when they look at it. And then this is in another room. We did one that kind of had orange colors. And see, when the light shines through, it's very pretty. And here are some of the moms with their babies. And then in one of the other rooms, we did the shape of a heart with some of those shapes. Well, after we left, we kept getting letters from people saying how encouraging it was that we had decorated the windows. And then they said, we have a house out in the parking lot that we use for the families of the kids who are burned. Because when they come to the hospital, the kid is in the hospital, but the parents and the family and their brothers and sisters don't have anywhere to go. So this was a house that someone had built a long time ago that has many rooms in it. But they said it's kind of run down. The concrete's kind of gross and it's all white and you can't really see in the picture, but it's kind of dirty and the screen door was broken. It was kind of a mess. So this year, right at the beginning of the summer, Mr. Heatdirks and I went over there with a whole bunch of kids from Westminster and we started to paint. We wanted to paint the inside. It was kind of sad and dirty in there. We wanted to make some of the rooms look a little bit nicer so that the kids who were in there would feel a little bit more welcomed. And this was the living room that they were in, and it was kind of plain. It was nice, but kind of plain. So we said, let's get to work. So we started to paint the outside of it. We started to paint it yellow. We painted some green on there. We put some more color over here. We saw this ugly wall over there, so we decided to paint that. And then we started to paint the furniture, and we started to paint the concrete, and we started to add decorations, and we couldn't stop. Here I am with Tori, and we're painting the outside of it, putting a mural on there. We repainted the door and we fixed the screen door so it worked nice now. We repainted their playhouse so that looked super nice. And we put some new games on there as well. Now, inside, we said we can't stop there. We noticed this tree here and we thought that is such a pretty tree. So I drew a tree on the walls and the kids got going painting. And now when you're inside, it looks like the tree is in the room because you can see the tree outside. And here you can see the tree on the inside. We painted the walls yellow and we painted that one orange, and the place just started getting happier and happier. There's me up on a ladder painting. And I would draw and draw, and the kids would paint and paint. This wall used to be bleh, 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 kind of white and boring. And here I painted it. We painted it yellow, and then we started to paint designs on there. And then here you can see things are starting to look a little happier. This wall was kind of boring, so we decided to paint it. And we bought some furniture for them. So now the families who were there would have a nice place to sit. Here's the dining room table, and this is it after. Here's the couch, got the TV going, everything's bright and happy. And what about those rooms? Well, this hallway was kind of sad, so we painted it. And now you can see color in there. We put little doodaddy kind of cute things here and there. And this room right here, we painted it. We put these cute things. Oh, this was kind of like our forest room, our rainforest room, so we painted it green. I drew some designs on there and off we went. We started to paint it and we put some lights up there. It looked adorable. We did another one with some balloons. We did another one with stars and with clouds on there. And I'm telling you, by the time we left, everyone who was in there was so happy and so excited that this house looked transformed. Soon after we left, they hosted a party for a whole bunch of the kids. Do you see them? They're all set up on top of the stuff that we painted and the fence that we painted. And they had a party and they were so excited that their new house was all beautiful. And right here, here's Vivian. She's the one who still raises money for the hospital. She was there as well. Now, after we left, they said, okay, that was amazing. Do you think now that you could maybe do our emergency rooms? Because the rooms inside the hospital now are kind of boring too. They put little stickers on the wall, but it doesn't do too much. And here I just received this today. I couldn't believe it. This little boy got burned over most of his body. So sad. And in the picture, they interviewed the mom. And look, the mom is sitting there and she's in front of all the things that we painted. It looks so much brighter, and she's talking about how grateful she is to have a beautiful place to stay while her child's in the hospital. Then here you can see his poor arms are all burned, poor baby. But in the video I could see the heart that we had put there. And the mom said that she loved to point out things to her baby when he was in pain and distract him with this. But what they said to us was, do you think you can make some of our emergency rooms a little brighter? So that's what I'm coming to you for today. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to raise money with the Noisy Offering to get money for medical supplies for the kids, to get some new toys. Their toys are kind of gross right now. But also that we could maybe start to decorate some rooms that are actually in the hospital. Now, we think it costs about $500 for paint and supplies for every room. I think we could probably raise $500, but I'm wondering, could we raise enough money for 2 rooms or 3 rooms or 4 rooms? There's 8 rooms in the hospital. We would love to be able to paint them all. So I am just hoping that we will be able to decorate these rooms with our money from Noisy Offering. And I thank you so much for considering this as something to donate to.